Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I'm Camila Santos, and this is another edition of EWiT Diamond Podcast. I have with me an amazing person that I had a chance to meet and to talk a little bit, and she's here to share some insights of her career, her personal growth. So, Fátima, please, feel free to introduce yourself as well.
So, hi everyone. Thank you very much, Camila, for your invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here and to share some experiences with everyone. I hope it's going to be useful. So, my name is Fátima. I'm 39, almost 40 years old. I'm a lawyer since 2007. I have worked abroad in several countries. I'm Portuguese, born in Portugal. We're currently also working in Portugal as a Chief Compliance Officer, General Counsel, and Data Protection Officer at Critical Techworks, which is a joint venture between Critical Software, a Portuguese company, and BMW AG, a very well-known brand for cars.
I have some questions and some insights that we got from our previous questions, from our previous talk. But first, as a trailblazer in your family, being the first woman to earn a degree, and congratulations on that. What motivated you to pursue a career in compliance and tech, especially given your background in law?
Well, Camila, thank you very much. So yes, it's with great pleasure and proud that I can tell you that I was the first in my family getting the degree. So my parents did not have one, but they did. They made all the efforts they could so that I could study. They always told me that the best tool for me would be to have a degree, so then I could build my career from there. My father used to tell me that it's not the name that makes you; it's you that can make your own name. Meaning your own reputation. Because I used to say my first and my last name is just Maria Silva, which in Portugal is pretty much like John Smith. And I used to complain about this because it's not a very famous name or reputed name or whatever. And he always told me that, like, with hard work, with your degree, with effort, you can put your name in history, you can leave your footprint. So I decided to take my law degree. I studied in Coimbra, so for the ones that do not know, it's one of the best law schools in Portugal and in Europe. I still did the pre-Bologna, so I still did the 5 years degree from 2002 to 2007. I had to leave my parents' home because it's quite far away from where my parents lived. And I started a total new challenge. So living alone, making new friends because I went alone to the university. Also, the environment. I mean, we were like 300, 400 people in a big classroom with no AC. At the time, the cell phones were not smartphones yet. So it was a all different world. I felt that I needed a dictionary almost to understand what the teachers were saying because this law language, it's very difficult, and especially when you are not familiarized, it can be extremely hard. So I think during my first year, I was crying almost every night and like begging to go back home. But I had the mission, so I had to fulfill the mission. So I did. And after 5 years, I left with my degree. I started by doing my internship for the lawyers bar in Portugal, as the majority of my colleagues. Also because, well, it's not mandatory to become a lawyer, but I always thought that it would be useful also to get some practical insights because all the degree, it's very theoretical. And I mean, actually what you really need is to see how it's applied in action. You need to jump out of those books and see how the law performs alive, so with no scripts. And so I did. So I did my internship for the lawyers bar in Portugal. But then I decided that I would like to specialize in corporate law, in tax law, and I decided to join Ernst & Young, where I worked for 11 years. So it was quite a long period of time. And I kind of stepped out for the normal law fields that usually more traditional lawyers take care. So, for example, family law, successions, real estate. I kind of got away from those kind of law branches and I started new ones. Compliance came because I started in EY doing tax. Then I moved to forensics investigation and dispute services. And in this area, we did a lot of support to client, implementing compliance programs in the companies, supporting them, performing regular audits, not financial. Also, I also did financial audits. That was not my expertise. That was one of my challenges. But doing like ethics audits, we supported them, creating policies, mechanisms of internal controls, and so on. So that's how I got in touch with the compliance subject. It was during my period at EY. And technology, because when you are working in the forensics area and you are running very big investigations for international clients, I mean, you need to work very closely with your colleagues because there are massive amounts of information that need to be analyzed. So you need people from IT with a very deep expertise in technology, because you need to run millions of emails searching for one word or two words, keywords that will lead you to somehow to a clue about where to investigate more. You need people with law background to give you the framework and the legal context of how you can understand those messages. And you also then need also the forensic accountants to make sure that the transactions were correctly made or not, and if not, where the sneaky part was hidden. So that's how I got in touch with compliance, with tech, with investigation. So a big mix for just a normal lawyer, I would say, for the typical traditional lawyer.
Amazing. And you shared that you lived abroad. Well, you navigated some male-dominated environment in the tech industry, living abroad. Could you share a little bit more of some strategies that you employed to earn respect as a professional and a woman in such settings?
Yeah, so it's not, how can I say, I don't think there is like one size fits all for this kind of approach. The world I lived in, or the environments I have navigated within my work skill set, they have always been dominated by men somehow. So not in the law school, but because in the law school, since, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, it's more, there are more females than males, I would say. But then in the work environment, so the clients I was dealing with, I was doing a very specific project in Angola for the government. So, I mean, very high rankings of the government. They were male. They had male on top. They were that were my main clients were men. Also, in terms of the company, how it was organized in terms of partnership and senior members in the company, also men, which is not a surprise because we are still living in this gap world between genders, mainly on the C-level positions. And now in the tech world that I'm working at Critical Techworks since 2020, and it's just a software producing company. So we have a big imbalance between males and females, but that's also due to the fact that, at least in Portugal, there are more male studying engineering, computer engineering, informatics, and so on, than females. So that has been a kind of a normal thing. But in the beginning, it's not very easy because, well, now I try to look younger. But in the beginning, when you are 25, 26, 27, I think I tried to look a little older, try to earn some respect, because people tend to see you as a little girl, young, smiley, polite, and then, you are just there to do administrative support, and probably you don't have as many insights as a proper Caucasian man with a die would provide. So my strategy, I never, in terms of clothing, let's start for that part, because I think that's probably the doubt that occurs to the majority. In terms of clothing, we have a dress code very specifically in Angola for the clients, because that was the public sector. So in terms of clothing, I used to dress in in a suit. It could be with trousers or with skirts, but always with some rules. There was nothing I could do. But I always used colors. I always put makeup. I always comb my hair in different ways. I never tried to act or to look more like a male-ish appearance to earn respect. So yes, I'm a woman. I'm confident with that. The trick here, or the more important thing, is I'm very confident about what I know and about my expertise. So yeah, in the beginning, they try to look at you, and sometimes they laugh, sometimes they make some jokes. For me, the idea was, I'm here because I have very important insights. I'm here because I was chosen and I was entrusted by my company to fulfill this mission. So I'm going to take it to the end. So yes, sometimes you hear some comments that probably they were not as appropriate as they should be. Sometimes when people ask for a picture, it also you feel probably this is not as nice as it could be. But I think I play it full lots of times, not to give it the importance that probably it was having in someone else's mind. But I think playing full works because when you play naive, I think that people start believing that you are not interested in, or you are not aligned in that kind of approach. Other times I had to draw a line. I had to say, well, I'm very sorry, but this is work and there is a barrier. There are some boundaries between work life and personal life. So I'm sorry, I cannot accept, for example, an invitation for dinner. That would not be appropriate. Not only because my company does not allow, but also because I don't feel that's appropriate. So sometimes I had to do that. And in the beginning, people don't like the answer, but I think you earn respect when you learn to say no and you explain why you are saying no. It's just like, it's not a simple no, I don't care. It's no because I have some guidelines from my company, because I have some ethical guidelines that forbid me to do something, or just because I have some personal life that I do not want to be mixed up with my work life. And then, I mean, at work, to be very honest with you, and I'm looking around, I'm not in the open space, but I have transparent glass around me. It's only men. But for me, at the work environment, I don't see genders. I think that looking at people with a gender on top, whatever gender it is, and now there are several ways people can identify themselves, that's very restrictive. I would rather look at someone as a person than looking at someone as a male or female or binary or non-binary or whatever, because that's something that it's very personal. And of course, we are people. So I'm looking at someone and the appearance, it's always the first approach for a he or for a she. There's no way I can go around that. Of course, that if I'm writing, people already put those instructions in the Teams or in the emails. That makes things easier. But for me, gender in the workplace doesn't make sense. We are people, so we should be treated as people. So, for example, if someone is swearing or saying whatever, I mean, I do not play the princess, just saying, "Oh God, so many bad words." No, it's like I do not have to do it, but I do not have to play princess. You see what I mean? It's like, I think that you need to be sensitive about where you are and about who your audience is. So there is time for everything. There is time for you to be a proper female or proper lady, a proper princess, if you want to be. There's time for that. But if you read your audience and you are in the middle of very senior male engineers that are very practical, very hands on the job, to get things done, and they have a different approach that someone like me would have, you need to adapt your speech, you need to look with different eyes and act as one of them. You need to get in the middle of, you need to be part of the tribe somehow. And adaptation here, I would say it's the key word for that. So, and of course, ignoring. So if you don't want to be part of that, if you don't want to, if you don't feel like you are doing the right thing, or you are not being invited, or for the right things, you can always first try to ignore playing fool, as I was saying in the beginning, then saying no and justifying your no, well, justify it, because I don't think that saying no just because you need to say no, it's a nice approach, or it's a kind approach, mainly when you are discussing with clients, because it's your stakeholder and it's your company that it's being evaluated. So you need to be very consistent. And that's another thing. I mean, it's not, if you have an approach of saying no or of refusing dinners, for example, with clients, I mean, that has to be transversal. And again, it's not by gender. I will say no to a female, I will say no to a male. Because what is my criteria? Is it male or is it clients? Okay, what's my company guidelines also? My company guidelines should be the first thing to look at. And then if it's okay for the company, then I should take one criteria and fulfill it. Otherwise, you can be falling in that discrimination that we as women would like to avoid. But so then we should be very careful to not do it on the other hand, or to the other people, to our stakeholders. So yeah, I mean, that's at least how I did it.
Perfect. I have a say, and I talk a lot about that with my friends, that communication is always a key, and understanding, as you said, read the room, understanding your stakeholders and how to communicate with them. Sometimes in a way, sometimes in another way, is an amazing soft skill that when you develop this, you get a lot of points and a lot of extra personal points. Well, my next question is following your experience abroad as well. So you said and you emphasized the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone, even especially relocating to other countries to study, to live, to work. Can you share some pivotal moments from your own experience on these new territories and how they contributed to your personal and professional growth?
Sure. So for me, it's very important. I don't like to always be at the same place. For me, I have that feeling that the more you travel, the more people you know, the more places you know, the richer you become in terms of knowledge, in terms of spirit. And so I left my parents' home. I was still 17 to study in Coimbra, as I mentioned before. So I had to leave home very, very young, and I never came back. So I changed home, I don't know how many times, because I lived in Portugal in different cities according to the places I was working. And every time you move, I mean, it's a lot of work, as everyone that is listening to this podcast understands, on one hand. And it's also a challenge of getting to know new people, trying to get your new circle of acquaintances or friends, trying to know the city or the space to fit in, because in the beginning, as soon as you arrive, you're always the stranger, which is totally normal. So I decided to go to Coimbra, then I went to Porto to do my internship. Then when I joined Ernst & Young, I went to Lisbon, which is much far away than it was Coimbra in the beginning. And my parents were not so supportive at the time. So I had to do it a bit by myself. The wages I was getting, they were not enough for my expenses, because in the beginning it's not easy, as everyone knows. So I had to ask my mother for some extra support. And I'm very lucky, because I always got it from my parents. So I am a lucky person in that respect. And then after Lisbon, I go back to Porto. So I was always moving around. And then I went to Angola. And I started to say yes to 9 months. And I ended up staying for 9 years. And during these 9 years, I have worked half a year in London as well. So every time you travel, you discover different things. Okay, so that's one way of getting out of your comfort zone, is understanding that you can have several friends, you can have your own things in your wardrobe or in your closet, everything by order or by color. But when you're traveling, you don't have that. Okay, you need to adapt. You need to adapt to just a suitcase. You need to pack in advance for 2, 3 weeks, 6 months, if it's needed. So yeah, well, I would love to put my, I don't know, purple shoes today. Well, I don't have them with me, so that's fine. Let's keep it rolling. So that's one way that you understand that you don't need to have everything available to feel fulfilled, because the fulfillment is something that comes from the inside to the outside. So definitely, when you are moving physically from one city or from one country to another country, that's a total new adventure. Also, culturally, and now I'm referring to countries specifically. That's also a big journey, because culturally it's very challenging. Even if you go from Portugal to Spain, and we are neighbors, people are very different. People have different habits in terms of fooding, of terms of hours for performing tasks, and so on. So culturally, there are always challenges that you need to overcome. And in terms now of getting out of your comfort zone, professionally speaking, for that, I mean, you need to be open-minded, and you need to convince yourself that there are challenges. And I mean, probably it's much more comfortable if you keep doing the same routine or the same task for years. And I'm not saying that your task or your job it's not exciting. I'm just saying that sometimes if we are always doing the same thing, you get so used to that you lose sight vision. You start looking only in one direction, very tunnel vision, and that may not be what the market demands from a young professional. For example, I was doing tax, personal income tax, when I started at UI back in 2009, and they started asking me for Excel files and more Excel files. I had never opened an Excel file before. I was like, well, what do you mean, guys? Excel? What Excel? Because in law school, you don't use Excel. Lawyers don't use Excel for nothing. And they started to come up with several formulas, and I was like, I think I'm in troubles. Let's study a bit. So yeah, new knowledge, more studying. Then, of course, when we had low season, I had to go and do audit support, financial audit support. Financial audit support, it's a nightmare for law people, because it's only accounting and accounting and accounting. And I was like, God, where am I? Okay, fine. Let's try to copy from the others, learn from the others, soak their knowledge, ask whenever you have questions, ask. Don't pretend that you know, because that's even worse. The more you pretend, the more people will believe you know, and the more they will overwhelm you with tasks. So just go honest, go transparent. Hey guys, this is not my comfort zone. Please help me. I have no idea about how I should make a bank reconciliation, for example. And then I was like, okay, let's start from the scratch again. When I went to Angola, I was like, okay, I'm going to do some tax, probably. No, I was doing debt management. Okay, treasury, bills and bonds. Again, that was totally different. And I was like, okay, that requires a big knowledge that my colleagues from management or from economy, they have. For me, it's a new world. So what I did is like, okay, I'm going to embrace the challenge. I'm going to keep it quiet, and I'm going to study every night. So in the first 6 months I arrived, my colleagues were probably having coffee or having a drink or having a nice conversation. I had just had dinner, and I came back to my room to study, to keep up to their speed, you see? And you need to do those sacrifices, I think, because it's not only about, okay, I'm going to try new things, but then you get bored because you don't know as much as the others do. And then it's like, okay, and then I give up. No, when you decide to embrace a new challenge, if it's in a different country with new people, new cultures, you need to leave the culture. You are not meant to be in Africa expecting to have the same as you have in your home country, expecting to have the same level of speed internet, for example, to have the same level of, I don't know, AC working or energy always working,
Mm.
variety of food, for example. You need to adapt wherever you are. And in terms of business specifics, you need to think very well. And if you are willing to embrace the challenge, so embrace it. Okay? Embrace it, but do it in a way that you are going to do your best. You want to put all your efforts to do your best. It's not, oh, I'm going to embrace it, and then in the end, you are not so committed, because then you're going to fail. And trust is those things that you take so long to build, and you lose it so quickly. And in the work, it's exactly the same thing. So if you think you are not capable, because some people are a bit more resistant to the change and to getting out of this comfort zone, which is also fine. We are all different. Then you probably need to think twice before. If you are willing to do it, then do it, but do it well. Okay? Open your heart, be humble. Be humble to admit that you do not know how to do it. Raise your hand, ask for help. Also, try to self-learn somehow, because now we have so many things available online and so on. So try to learn it. Try to make the best out of it. Try to also take some pleasure, because in the beginning we hate some tasks because we do not know how to do it. The more we get acquainted with those tasks, I think the more we start liking it, because sometimes we dislike what we do not know. So sometimes it's about a leap of faith, whether you take it or not. But if you take it, like, be humble, be transparent with yourself, with people around you, and then put all your efforts in it. Never settle for less. Never settle for being the more or less in the room. Always try to be the best one. That's my, at least my guidance when I try to embrace new things.
That's amazing. And actually, when you were talking, I was literally taking this personal as well, because I'm learning a lot from this conversation, and I've been moving also since I was 18. I left Brazil already, then I left Portugal, and I'm constantly changing as a nomad, a nomad lady. I love, and I sometimes think that, sometimes I'm in my mind and I'm like, maybe 1 year in Thailand would be something that I would love to do. So that's perfect. Thank you very much. Well, almost finishing our talk. But my next question is about imposter syndrome. So this is a common challenge, especially for women in high stakes C-levels. And I would love to understand, how did you personally overcome imposter syndrome? And what advice would you give to others facing the similar doubts?
I have faced imposter syndrome, mainly every time you are promoted or every time you are given a new challenge, and you receive some compliments for the tasks you have been performing, you feel like, uh-oh, probably I was too convincing, or probably I was doing a very good self-marketing, but that probably it's not the right thing. Probably I'm not ready enough. Probably I'm not prepared enough. They will find out. I'm living in a fake world. What shall I do? We have all, I think people always feel this when they are embracing a new challenge, because they were good in the previous one, so they are given more responsibilities. So my first, I think the strategy, at least, that I try to follow is, never think that you do not know enough. Okay? We need to bear in mind that if someone believed in us, if someone gave us some task or some responsibility, that's because we have showed something. That's because we have demonstrated skills to do that a specific thing. So it's not because we are lying. That's not because we are doing self-marketing. It's because we are good at what we do. So let's live with that. Okay? Let's assume I'm good at what I do. So in the beginning, of course, and when you are younger, and for the younger people listening to this, they will try to stay in the room, quiet, wishing that they were totally invisible, so that no one asks any question and they can just go and no one notices they were there. Because they think that if they speak out loud what they are thinking, and many times they have several thoughts that are very interesting, but they are not brave enough to raise their hand and to talk about them. Mm-hmm. They are afraid that someone will look and ask, why are you saying that? Or you are not entitled, you're not experienced enough. You should probably just listen and learn. But that's not right. That's not the right way to do it. In my opinion, is like if you're in a room full of experienced people, probably you are not more experienced one, probably you are still in your learning curve, which is also fine. Everyone, every time you step out of your comfort zone, nevertheless, you are 20 years old or 60 years old, you always have this learning curve. So, but if you are there, just pay attention. And again, try to be as insightful as you can. Take notes of all your thoughts. Take notes of all the things that you'd like to say. In the end, when you have space to talk, when people open for questions and answers, try to reduce it to 1 or 2 questions maximum, to 1 or 2 insights, and expose them. Don't be afraid of looking less intelligent, of looking less stupid. Don't be shy of people looking at you and giving you a mic to your hands. That's also normal. And share with the world. You are good. So share. And sometimes even if what you're thinking, it's not probably the best approach in the world, that's fine. Because without brainstorming, the best approaches are not found, ever. So people get there and we work in teams because with different people, with different approaches, with different views, the team leads are capable of getting the best thing they can. They are capable of seeing the best way after seeing different perspectives. So the imposter syndrome is something that it's very, very common, mainly for young females. That's also some statistic over here. In the tech world, it's also very common, but not only. So I'd like to try to expand this because it's not only for the tech world. So I would say that if you're feeling it, just remember, someone believed in you, and that was for a reason. More than that, you believe in yourself. And why? Because you work hard, you study, you read. You do not go for a meeting without being prepared. You do not attend a conference and ask questions without paying a lot of attention of what is being said. You are not entitled to speak about a theme if you are not studying before. So people trusted in you. You trust in yourself because you prepare yourself, not because you are super intelligent. Because I think 10% is intelligence, as they say, or whatever, and the rest is about hard work. Mm-hmm. So you trust yourself and you go slowly and you start like the inception, putting your ideas in people's minds, slowly, step by step. And then you will see that after a while, people will never notice that you are the youngest or that you are the less experienced. Actually, they will come to you because your insights, they produced some effects. And next time they will come to you and say, hey, Camila, I really liked your intervention last time. It really was useful. What do you think? Would you like to have some brainstorming about that theme? And that's the moment you realize, like, well, my effort was worth it. So I'm not an imposter. I'm a trustworthy member of this company. People believe in me, and that's for a reason. And I also do. In my opinion, that's the best way for you to overcome it. But always be very well prepared, okay? And always keep in mind that you need to be humble as you can, because sometimes people ask you questions. Sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not. And you need to be ready to say, I don't know, I need to study more. Mm-hmm. And that's not being fake. It's normal. People don't have answers for everything. Just go transparent. Be humble and say, I'm not prepared to answer that question right now. I will have to consult the law or whatever you need to. And I'll come back to you ASAP. And then as soon as you're prepared, you ping that person and you provide the insights that you're able to gather during that period of time. So be aware of your weaknesses, of your soft points, and be aware of your strengths. And never keep your ideas to yourself, because actually you may be silencing ideas that could be so useful. And people could learn from you as you are learning from the others. But if everyone keeps quiet, how can we share and learn from each other?
I loved it. I really loved it. Well, my last question is a little bit more tech and to get some insights from you. Because, well, you are someone deeply involved in compliance, in risk management, and fraud investigation, but also in tech. So how do you see the intersection with these sectors and technologies like AI and blockchain?
Well, everything is connected. Well, AI, now I'm just going to give you a side note. AI in our business, we are both users and producers for the autonomous driving. So it's a big topic in the company that I follow very closely. And technology, it's a monster. We all know that, but it's hand with hand with compliance, with regulatory, and with risk management. So I think that the intersection of technology with compliance, risk management, and fraud investigations is evolving rapidly. It's like emerging technologies, like, as you said, AI and blockchain, offer significant potential to enhance those areas. AI, for example, can automate compliance processes. It can detect anomalies. It can analyze large data sets for potential risks that you have never thought before. On the other hand, blockchain, big topic as well because of cryptocurrencies and so on. Blockchain provides transparency and immutability, making it useful for ensuring the integrity of records and transactions. This is not only applicable for cryptocurrencies, it is also applicable for intellectual property and so on. So, however, it also introduces new challenges, such as ensuring the ethical using of AI and addressing regulatory concerns surrounding the blockchain implementation. Overall, embracing these new technologies, of course, that these need to be embraced thoughtfully and carefully. But they can lead to more efficient and effective risk management and fraud prevention strategies. So for people that are general counsels, as I am, or risk management officers, please feel comfortable about learning more about AI, about blockchain, about this DORA Resilience Act. Study about that, because the more you apply those technologies to your life, the more space and more free time you get to be involved in the more strategic decisions from the company. So everything is connected and one does not exclude the other. It's the opposite. I think everything works together towards the biggest benefit, which is better risk management, more compliance, and less fraud, hopefully, occurring.
Yes, hopefully. Perfect. Well, Fátima, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being with us. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I did a lot. I hope everyone watching is also enjoying this interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. And we get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.